beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful, cold, below freezing.
7 degrees.
What'd you say?
It's 7 degrees.
7 degree. First of all, these kids could have went to school. Because Friday afternoon before everybody come home is my time. I ain't talking about because of the danger. It's because I got 2 teenagers at home and one who last night told me, oh yeah, we're going to be home and we're going to bug you all day.
Oh,
That's what he said. That's what
he said.
That's what he said, Rashid. Rashid, I am off the chain right now.
Yeah, you are. You really are.
We just left press conference. Of course, you all know Rashid White. You in the Challenger.
Am I?
You in the Challenger. They like you. They put you in the Challenger.
That's nice.
Wyatt resolution seeks to limit traffic along Route 33 exits during future winter storms and emergencies.
Nice.
University District Council member Rashid N.C. Wyatt has put forth a resolution. Let me hook to my page because Mark don't
Gotta
be
keep
giving me
us
no
safe.
love on this.
Keep us
bad
safe during the blizzards.
My headphones messed up. He always mess up my stuff.
Oh,
Mark,
No, I don't. I'm not the one that uses
if
it.
I move this, oh, it's loose or something. You're not the one who does what, Mark?
I don't use it during the week.
Mark, you know you can't mess with his sound.
I listen.
You know I know sound.
Listen,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
know.
touch it. I listen. I tried that. I try to leave it however it was set up the week before.
Leave it right
That's
there.
But that's
how
the
I
key.
leave it. I
Just
leave it.
leave it. Something is wrong. It's going in and out, but that's not Mark's fault. Just leave my stuff alone. That's what I told him even on Sunday morning. Just stop touching stuff. Why the sound man got to touch buttons? Leave the buttons alone. It's going to be the same people on the same stage, basically. Now I come in and they call it, oh, we got it right. No, you didn't. Leave my
But I
stuff
thought
alone.
we was going to take a picture. I remember you say, take a picture of that board so that.
Oh, how many years have I? First of all, now we know that was when we had the old board.
Okay.
And it was analog,
board, yeah.
and you had to do. We have a digital board.
Oh, gosh.
When you set the presets, all you got to do is push a button, pastor's mic, and it turns my monitors on, turns everything on. Choir turns the choir mics on. Yeah, stop touching buttons. Anyway, yeah. So you in the paper about
Safety arms.
the safety arms. They ain't gonna give you the credit once it's safety arms. You know that, right?
Oh, no.
Because we ask for it, then it's like then if the state does it, it's like that.
But
ain't
you
do
know
nothing.
the fortunate thing, because you know I'm not in it for any recognition. You just do your job. But because people hear Wyatt did it, they can do it, but they still gonna say, "Hey, it was Wyatt." So
That's me, ain't it?
Yeah.
It is me. Sorry, Mark. I blame Mark for a lot of stuff. So anyway, so you in there so that you can put safety arms so that when you tell people don't go out and they still go out, they tell can't get on the 33. But I was interviewed yesterday by USA Today, and he said, "Why do you think people didn't go out, or went out during the storm? Do you think it was not enough notice?" I said, "It was plenty of notice. It was plenty of notice. The mayor gave notice. Every meteorologist gave notice."
Yep.
I said, and I went out too. He said, "You're an elected official and you went out?" I said, "Yeah, because I'm from Buffalo. And we think we can handle." I said, and the news, if it's going to be 2 inches of snow, they make it such a big deal to get people to, oh, storm alert. 2 inches of snow coming to Buffalo. And we just got to the point of like, I can handle it. I said, and then what changed it for me when Tops and Wegmans said they was closed, I was like, oh shit, I better get my
get
tail
what you gonna get. What you gonna get
in
down.
the house. So I did.
But even today, it was supposed to be nasty and messy. We knew it was gonna be cold. It was supposed to be windy and snowy, but it didn't happen like that. So
Amber Bowling says, "Got that right. Cheektowaga didn't close." Corrine Flip says, "I'm sorry you are not running again. I appreciate all you have done." Thank you. Sharon Patterson says, "Exactly. Just want to be busy." Daphne McNabb says, "The arms is a good idea."
thank you, Daphne.
He didn't invent the idea.
No.
but he pushing it.
He should
That is get rid of the speed camera Wyatt.
get rid of all cameras. And I
I think
tell
that's
you,
what I'll be known for. People are
Well,
like, those
you know, the
cameras.
one thing about not running is that I will miss is that we have worked well together.
Yeah.
So many of the council members have worked well together, and we got a lot done. You'll never get the credit for the things you got done, and so what? But we were able to get a lot done, and it wasn't a chaotic council.
No.
And it wasn't a messy council. That I will miss. I really will miss it, but I'm working on my next.
Well, trusted leader, we'll miss you. But
So-
you still got 11 months.
I got 11 months. So, well, now almost 10. Here's the point, because
Here's the point.
next December I ain't doing nothing but packing up my office, and whoever depending on who becomes the Ellicott District Council member, I would hope to start indoctrinating them to meet the people, depending, because some people they're gonna have to learn on the fly.
Is that a
So we
military
just-
book?
Huh?
Is that a military book?
No, this is my yearbook. That's what we're going to talk about today. This is my yearbook. It's called The Pathfinder from 1979. I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about some pages in here that would never happen now.
Okay, 1979 from what school? What high school? Is that high school? Grammar school?
It was both. It was a private school. I will talk about it momentarily. We just left a press conference in which the governor is giving $3 million, right?
yes, $3 million.
$3 million to businesses on Jefferson Avenue and around Jefferson Avenue. It can be for building improvements, it could be for whatever you need it for. Your business. Operating, whatever you need, right? I was clear in my remarks today that the money should be going. We lost 10 lives that were African American. 10. There was not. There was all African American. Part of this money coming in is because of their lives.
Yep.
Well, this money coming in is because of it. I don't want to see where black folks are not benefiting. You can get from $5,000 to $50,000, and it should be people who stayed on Jefferson.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm so sorry that Mr. Scotty doesn't have the car washing, and it's starting to it's going to be knocked. It's got to be knocked down. The storm hurt it even worse. But he would have been prime to be able to give $50,000 to, so that he could have fixed that car wash. I know hand car wash is not popular anymore, but people like my dad and they like hand car wash. I don't care about hand car wash.
Right.
I go right over to the Sonic.
Yep.
And I don't care because I lease cars, so take this car back. I don't care. It's not a Maserati that belonged to me. But there was an art to it. There was just an art. So I have been clear. I was clear with the governor's office. LISC is going to be distributing it. African-American woman who's the regional chair, head of LISC, fine with that. Commissioner came in from the state of New York, black woman, fine with that. The Beverly Grace Center will be helping applicants. Fine with that. Now, in all honesty, I would have loved to see a local agency who represents black folks on purpose
Yep.
distribute that money. Whether it is, and I said it, so I'm not just saying it on the radio, and as I've told everybody, I have senioritis right now. Like seniors who out on their way out, you know, to graduate, going to college. And I say and I'll always say what I said. Did I have to be strategic so that I could get things done in my district and for people? Absolutely. And I'm still not a loose cannon. I'm never going to be that, but I am going to always be honest. I want governments, when they have money, it's okay to really seek out black people on purpose. Or else our organizations go down.
Yep.
We talk about black developers. We talk about the development going on the east side. And a lot of times it is led by black people, black churches. But the developers, and including True Bethel, because we don't have right now a builder. It's a difference between a developer and a builder.
Yep.
You can be a developer but not be the builder. We don't have right now in Buffalo a black builder that has the capacity to do like a children's hospital. Now, y'all can argue with me, but tell me who it is.
No. And I think the only one that's close is Lazarus is on his way.
Lazarus, you know what? You make a good point. Lazarus is on his way. Lazarus is the one who got the bid, and I didn't even know he was black, to build the archways.
Yeah.
Lazarus is the one that built First Calvary on Jefferson. Lazarus offices are located at Jefferson and High.
Yep.
Still doesn't have that huge capacity, but I'm going to tell you this. I agree with you. I agree he's on his way. He is the one that True Bethel is looking at to do our build out unashamedly. And as the two sisters I talked to today who have a coffee shop called Unapologetic.
Yes, Unapologetic Coffee.
And they are roasting their own coffee. And the reason they named it, they told me today at the press conference, Unapologetic Coffee, is because they had investors who basically said, this is what they told me. White folks don't mind black people doing a product. They just don't want to know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And they said, one of the sisters, because she said I brought her to tears today, talking about black people, said, I'm going to be unapologetic of who I am. Because I told them their face needs to be their coffee. And because there is a movement now across these United States, finally, for some people to support black business on purpose.
Absolutely.
So I said, don't be quiet. And then we went over to Larry Stitz, where I got the coffee. Golden Cup, and got coffee on purpose from Golden Cup. And now he wants to move into another building. I'm not going to disclose his business, but I'll say this, to have a drive-through. And I am supporting him having a drive-through. He is supporting me, and I'm supporting him on getting rid of these ridiculous bump outs that people who do not live in our city, who the city hires to come up with streetscape, and then they want to put these bump outs that then people will not be able to park in front of his business. No, you don't live on Jefferson. You don't live on Southampton. You don't live on Northampton. You don't live here.
On Fillmore, where they are.
Fillmore, they look horrible. When snow comes, you can't the plows can't get all the snow out. You can't see around the corner when you're coming off a side street. This is a suburban model. We're not in the burbs. So I support Larry, support the sisters. It's okay to support black on purpose. Absolutely. Especially when we have been disenfranchised on purpose. Especially when we've been redlined on purpose.
Absolutely.
Why can't we say black? The white supremacist idiot who killed 10 people on purpose. Now we need to be on purpose.
I completely agree. And that was, and I know we talked about it on the show when they did the Food Desert Conference here. And everyone was quick to say, government, you need to do this, government, do this. And like you said, redlining all these, people have to understand those were creative ideas from industries, from the banking industries and from other industries that told government this is how we can isolate a certain sect of people to create investments on the other side of town. So we need those same industries to be creative and, like you said, be deliberate about how do we reinvest into what we said we could not invest in.
You know, Mark, you're totally right. Katrina says 40 Block Development LLC as of January 2023. Carolyn Lane, I have their coffee when they first opened up. That's what I'm talking about. Marie Collins, folk try to take you for a fool. May Bynum, what about the homeowners on the east side of Buffalo? This money only for business owners. The announcement today is for business owners, but there is another pot of money for homeowners. But Crystal Peoples-Stokes, who was there, the majority leader, did talk about how long it's taken for money to get out of the door.
Absolutely.
And she said this money should not be taking this long to get out of the door. And she, I'm sure, was referring to the home ownership program. So there is money for homeowners, but it's taking forever to get that money out of the door. And she not only said it publicly, she said it privately. And this is what, if we ever understand how to work together and the collective power that we actually have. Today I'm standing in a room with a black commissioner. I'm standing in a room with a black majority leader. I'm talking to two sisters who are business owners while they talking to the council president, while the university district council member is on one side, and the person who's running Beverly Gray is on the other side. That's black power. However, let me pause, because you can have black position without having black power.
Yes, I was getting ready to
Because
say.
what we know, what too often happens is we split up black power by going against one another. My next chapter, whatever next is, I want to see and be in a position, and a lot of people don't realize, as a council member, I got to get at least 4 other votes.
Yep, on everything.
On everything. I'm not on the executive branch. I want to be in a position that I can help black people for real get wealth. And I want some too.
Yeah.
I ain't ashamed to say that. But I want to see not just black developers. I worked hard to get black developers. I worked hard, and we were successful. When I got to City Hall, there was only 2 churches basically building. And that was St. John, and that was Bethel, AME. And big ups to Pastor Stenhouse, because he showed me things that nobody else would tell me. And now we have, and I'm not going to go through the list. I've talked about this before, but I'm so glad to see Bethesda, Mount Olive, Mount Aaron,
First
Shiloh. But they were already in the game.
Okay.
They had got in. But again, it was from the development side. And what people don't realize, on the developer side, you get what's called a developer's fee to build something. And then you're out. Like, it's not like, and this is so funny, when people thought I was getting all this money from their part, I get zero. Darius Pridgeon has never made a dime off of the houses, off of the townhouses, off of the senior houses, off of Niagara Falls. Zero. Developers get a one-shot deal. You build something, you get the developer's fee. That's it. You don't get money off the rents. Who makes the dough is the builder.
Yep.
So we go to meetings and argue with the developers. Y'all doing this. Why you not doing this? And you know what the builder doing? I'll wait till y'all finish.
Yep.
And when y'all finish,
The payout coming to me.
I'm about to make money. And you gonna get some. You gonna get broke off a little bit, but you getting broke off a little bit. I'm then going on to my other 10 projects. And that's how it runs. And people don't realize that.
And I think you make a good point. And I think that when we really recognize our collective power, we will be powerful. And we won't be apologetic, and we won't have to scheme and do things. We just going to be straightforward and deliberate, because we are always worried about somebody else. I'm not worried about us when I know that economically we are the biggest spenders.
Sure
we are the
is.
consumers, African Americans. But when we flip that and we become the investors, oh my God, the game is going to change. But we have to understand our collective power, and we have to start fighting against one another. As you talked to those 2 young ladies, I'm looking at them and I'm seeing how inspired they were, because now we have another group of folks that's going to come and say, I can do it too. You can. It ain't about no other nationality, another group of people. We are powerful too, but we got to put in the work.
Got to
Ain't
put in the
nobody
work.
giving us nothing. Ain't nobody gonna
Stop paying attention to the
Yes.
negative.
Yes.
We got so many negative Nancys out there who want to, instead of fighting the establishment, instead of fighting for us, they fight us.
Absolutely.
And they get the views and the likes and the attention just to fight us. Why? And I said this the other week. And after we figured out we shouldn't be enslaved, after enduring civil rights times, the church was the heartbeat, because it was the only thing, and still to this day, that we collectively own.
Yeah.
You're so right. And here's what's crazy. So I was working on a sermon, and I want to talk about the intro of it is about where 40 acres and a mule actually came from. Where that actually comes from is when the Civil War was getting ready to end, the president sent down some leadership down into Georgia or South Carolina. They convened black leaders. It was, I believe, like 40 black leaders.
Yep.
It was a pastor
Yep.
that when they said, "What do you want?" He said, "I'm speaking on behalf of the area. We want land." And then that's how they originally carved out how everyone was
Wow.
going to get 40 acres. So like you said, the black church
Wow.
has been pivotal since day one
Yes.
in asking, and like you said, keeping the pulse of what our community needs.
And the shame is that, and I taught this last night about Paul and what he was really fighting for in the Bible, and it was really about prejudice.
Yep.
It was about tradition. It was about at that time, and this isn't anti-Semitic, it's biblical. About the Jews and the Gentiles. I guess I really haven't felt free to talk about the Jews and the Gentiles in a way that people wouldn't think it was anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
But to be able to say that Paul came to change the system, but he was promoting the church. And now we have people, I don't believe in organized religion. Okay. I don't believe in the church. Okay. Then what do you believe in? What organization do you believe in? Because across the country, the entity that African Americans own jointly the most are not gas stations.
Nope.
We don't have investment clubs. It's your church or your mosque. The church or the mosque. That's it. So at the end of the day, utilize that resource. But what happened? Storm comes. Why the church ain't open? What you put in? How much money you put in the church? Why they don't have generators? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? Come down to 907 and bring me generator money.
Absolutely.
I'll put in a generator.
And a big enough generator that sustains the whole building.
Yeah.
Not just a corner office.
Yeah,
you know?
not have me outside in the storm
Right.
pulling the generator with a extension cord.
Right.
Because that's what we've been trained in our mind, and we got to untrain it. Speaking of which, we talked about this book. This is my 1979. For those of you on the radio who can't see it, but those of you on social media. Monique and I were having a discussion last night.
Come on.
And I had showed her this before. And she's the one who actually stoked this. Because first of all, I didn't even know this girl liked me. This one girl liked me. She wrote in my book about how I don't pay attention to her.
Oh no.
She's
no.
She's an attorney now. I better not say her name. He done sued my tail. Did I say I'm free? Did I say I'm free? I got senioritis.
Free indeed.
So this is and I wasn't going to say the school, but the people who are in charge of the school are no longer in charge of the school. So I went to school in Clarence for several years.
Help us.
I went to school in Clarence. I went to it wasn't Martin Luther King. It was Martin Luther. You know, a lot of people don't know Martin Luther is different from Martin Luther King.
It's sad. Very sad. Hence where the Lutheran church comes from. But anyway.
Yeah, the reformer Martin Luther, who
Yeah.
did not believe in the Roman Catholic ways, and he goes and does his own thing. So I went to a school called Christian Central Academy, and at that time it was run by the chapel, which we know as Chapel at Cross Point. So
Okay.
I want to be clear and give this disclaimer that they no longer run the school, that the leadership at the chapel right now had nothing to do. They weren't even born. Jerry Gillis wasn't even born, okay? I mean, he might have been born, but he wasn't. He was a kid. So my yearbook was called The Pathfinder. Christian Central Academy, a Christ-honoring school. So we went through all of the pictures one day, like this week, because I found this week. And we get to a page, and Miss Snyder, her husband killed her and put her in their camper, in like underneath the couch, and then traveled with her and her kids.
Wait, what?
For Miss Snyder, she's here, she's featured. Wow, she was so nice, and traveled, and her body started rotting. Isn't that wild? I did not like this school because they paddled people. That was back in the day when you could paddle.
Yeah,
I got paddled once.
I got paddled too.
Let me tell you this. If I ever see that joker who paddled me, I'm punching him in his face. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't.
I'm free.
Just needed my-
It's wrong. You don't paddle no kid. I wish the school would talk about. Do you know in the Bahamas they still are paddling kids? You're not paddling my kid.
It wasn't bad then.
I don't care, Rashid. Nobody should have been able to paddle nobody else's kid. You agree with paddling?
Joe, what's Joe's name? Lean on me.
Joe Clark.
Joe Clark. He
I don't care. I don't care who you are. You
used
could
to
be
call me
Joe
Crazy
Clark
Joe, now you
or
call me
Jill
Batman.
Clark. You're not paddling my kid. I wish
today.
my kids. That's
Not
not.
today.
It
Not
ain't gonna
today.
happen, and it shouldn't have happened then.
Yeah, well, I got paddled.
I don't
Miss
think-
Niedermeyer paddled me. Miss our superintendent knows Miss Niedermeyer. She remembers.
Paddle. You get paddled at home. I don't want nobody. First of all, no, I ain't even gonna go deep on that because that man bend over and it hit me 3 times. I thought to myself, I want to turn around and bust you in your face.
You free indeed.
Yeah.
I am free. Adrienne Lockwood is in here. Her name was Adrienne Lockwood. This is the wife of Bishop Boyd.
Okay.
Adrienne.
Oh, okay.
Kenny Newsom. Kenny is the he's an accountant, I believe now. He works for the Urban League.
All right, Kenny.
It wasn't a lot of black folks there.
Let's get ready to say you get ready to name
You
every
know what?
single
I
one of them.
remember that school on the news when they would always announce the school closing, and that was always one of the schools. And I remembered that school.
Because do you know how many buses I had to catch? I had to catch a city bus all the way out to Eastern Hills. To Eastern Hills.
Dang.
Get off Eastern Hills and then catch the school bus. Wow. So these kids who got to wait a half hour, please talk about being on the bus for like 2 hours almost. A lot of these people I know. Nick Hicks. I went to school with Nick Hicks. He's an attorney.
The attorney who helped us with 907.
He absolutely just showed up. God sent him right on time. Look at me. Look at my little cookie bush. You see that? Can you see right there? That's my cookie bush.
Wow.
Lil D.
Wow.
And
D.
I'm going to show y'all this girl, Joanne Latimer, the first white girl I ever kissed at the Buffalo
Jesus.
Museum of Science.
What?
That was my little girlfriend from
Help
there.
us.
She was a nice girl. Nice girl.
Good personality or
She ain't writing my book because I think we broke up. But
help us.
Tammy did. It's really been nice. Now I'm gonna get y'all
okay,
to the,
Tammy.
okay. I'm free. Praise the Lord.
That's why the girl he kissed didn't sign because Tammy.
No more.
We were, you know how in the science. Well, I don't know if it's there now. Like you go in, you can watch a little movie.
Yeah.
That's where.
Oh, it happened.
That's where the kiss happened.
Oh, okay.
That's where the kiss happened. And by the time we got on the bus, everybody already knew. You kissing?
Did you put a little
Joanne.
rose at that spot?
She broke up with me like 2 days later.
Oh,
I forgot why.
Tammy.
Definitely not
They brought
Tammy.
y'all all the way to Buffalo to go to
I was in the
museum.
chorus. I like singing. I was in the chorus. I'm going to get to the point, y'all, because this is going to blow your mind. I'm trying to get to the page. Sonia, who was Bishop Anderson's niece. Everybody went on to do great things. She didn't even live in Buffalo. She just came here. Nick Hicks was a guard in the basketball team. Guess what? That was nothing.
Well, I was getting ready to say,
Ernie
and you
Childish.
just, while you're finding the page, you just kind of said something that made so much sense, and you know we did some remote shows at Canisius and Nichols. The investment in the education,
Amen.
and you just simply said it, and you just kind of went over it. Like everyone went on to do great things. It starts with the education, and you just
do I not keep saying that?
Yeah.
Did I not say it on another radio show
Yep,
yesterday?
Sure did.
My parents only owned one car between the two of them
Yeah.
because they were paying my tuition. My mother worked and my father worked. My father worked at Dresser. My mother worked in the engineering department of the phone company. They probably could have afforded 2 cars. We had a stripped down car. Wasn't no extras on it. You undid your own lock. You
Yeah.
rolled down your own window.
Been there.
We had AM radio. We had a Maverick, a green Maverick. And one of my friends, not my friend, my father's friends was smoking and it threw the cigarette out the window. The cigarette came back in the back burned
window.
up the whole car.
Yeah.
And they got it redone. My mother had a yellow Vega.
People
Then we
people
had a
haven't even heard
Marquis.
of these cars before.
Yeah, then we had a Mercury Marquis. We didn't have cars. And my parents rented on Winslow and then eventually bought a house on Hamlin Road. And Hamlin Road was full of movers and shakers. The first black mayor was our neighbor.
Wow.
He wasn't elected. He ended up he was like council president, and ended up, whatever his position was, being the mayor during an opening.
Wow.
So he was really the first one to serve as mayor, but not elected. Byron Brown is the first elected mayor. We were on Hamlin Road with doctors, dentists, lawyers. So we're there with people black folks who had wealth, but we didn't. I'm not gonna say. My dad always says we was poor, but at the end of the day, their investment was in the one kid they had.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I'm gonna say it. I know I just stole it from the girls, but it was in the dictionary. I'm unapologetic. My parents worked hard for this.
Yeah.
Special events at Christian. Can you read that? What's the special event, Rashid?
Slave Day.
Slave Day every year.
Wow.
Oh goodness.
Can you see the monkey? The guy dressed as the monkey?
Yeah.
Wow.
Where am I? On this side?
Magilla Gorilla.
Nah, you got to center.
Right there. Oh, no, wrong side.
Magilla
It's
Gorilla.
on your right hand. Yep.
Look, every year they'd have Slave Day.
Wow.
And you would pay to have a slave.
What? Wait, whoa.
Oh, no. Somebody last night said that they used to do it at their school, too.
Wow.
You would pay. Do you see it? Every year we had Slave Day. So when people ask me, are things changing? You daggone straight, because let a school have Slave Day. I'm just glad they put it in the yearbook.
That.
One person dressed as a monkey, the other person is dressed as Richard Nixon, other person dressed as a little baby, and there was even, I want you to see that. Look at the drawing. I wish I could bring it in. See that? Wow. They had a drawing on the wall. Slave Day, and this is in my time, guys.
If I can grab it off this.
Can you get it?
Turn it to this one for a second.
This one over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which page you want me to zoom in on?
This one over here. This page over here with the drawing. You see it? You bring the camera close. So this was like they would do depictions of, there it is, Slave Day auction with like slave masters and the auctioneer.
Wow.
And I'm gonna move. Yeah, you got a good shot now. Okay, I'm gonna move it down to show you the gorilla. That's what I lived with. Typical, and it says typical student
After
at
lunch.
CCA after lunch.
Wow.
So when you ask me, are things changing? Yeah, they're changing, because you couldn't do this now.
No way.
But this is what I live with. Chuki, happy birthday. She says that's bananas.
No pun intended.
Wow, that was a good comeback. That's bananas. Tashelle Jameson says, I always say the same thing. My son started private school in first grade. I'm still paying for school, and he's in third year of college. I don't regret spending a dime. Education is important. Yeah. But this is what we used to deal with. So when you talk about paddling, that's why I got a whole, because I'm like, y'all in there paddling me like I'm a slave. I'm not doing that. And I'm not, it's never going to happen for my kids. And I mean it. And I do not prescribe to it. But the fact that we could have a day called Slave Day and not be sensitive in 1979.
Ain't that long ago.
Ain't that long ago. So that's why I think we have to be so unapologetic now to do for black folks. And not always have to, and I said this at the press conference, we're thankful, but let's not get this twisted. It's our money.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's kind of, I attended an event that Dr. Taylor put on some years ago regarding urban development. And they went back and talked about how the laws prevented blacks from buying houses back in the day. Yeah. And so when you think about those things and you go back and think about slavery and how those things continue to kind of manifest themselves, it started with our government. Yeah. And it continues with our government. And I think the majority leader talked about, some of those things today. And you even said, we can't be ashamed to say black and be proud of who we are. And I think that those are very, very important because we're sending out a message, because it's about messaging.
Absolutely.
And there's a message that we shouldn't talk about that, and that's the problem. When we don't speak up and we don't stand up, I mean, those who do speak up are marginalized and attacked. Like they should be, why are you talking about black people? Because we're the ones affected in so many ways, and it seems as though when it's time to take care of us, we are always last. And as Dr. King said, when is it time?
Absolutely.
When is it time to take care of us?
And the time is right now for me in Buffalo. We cannot let these 10 lives go in vain.
Absolutely.
And not be more demanding of an investment. And I'm not going to sit around and go, thank you, master. It is an investment that should have happened a long time ago. And I know what somebody said, well, you've been sitting at the council. I want to repeat this again. I've been sitting at the council of a broke city that cities do not have the money. And this is where we have to educate our people.
Yeah.
While people are talking about what the council isn't doing, who has no money, who is the legislative body, they don't talk about the federal government, who has trillions. We don't even know how many. I don't even know how many zeros, trillions, trillions of dollars.
And still talking about increasing the debt ceiling.
Yes, and I'm all for Ukraine. I'm down for Ukraine. I will put a Ukraine flag in my window. But when it's easier to send $1 billion to Ukraine than to send $1 billion to school systems, there is no reason we should have to be paying tuition. Yeah. None. There is no reason 58 years later, I'm 58 years old, that my parents should have had to pay for me to go to private school. Mm-hmm. No reason. There is no reason. Because you got $1 billion you can find. And again, let me say I stand with Ukraine because I'm all in. Because I do not want to see Russia take over Ukraine or any place else. But at the end of the day, we're able to find money for whatever our priorities are. Mm-hmm. The council does not have that, folks. Let me tell you, I'm free enough now to take. Council ain't got no money. And the money that comes out of the city of Buffalo for building houses and all that, it does not come from the city of Buffalo. It comes from the federal government to the state government, the state. So the feds say to the state, we're going to give you this money. The state says to the cities, we're going to give you this money. So by the time you even get the money, it's gone through 3 hands.
Yep.
But I have never seen groups of Buffalo up in D.C. protesting. You come to the chamber, and that's good. And we have our responsibility on our level. But the big money, that's what we miss the forest for the trees. We just don't see. You need to be down. You want a voice? I was just in D.C. I didn't hold my tongue in talking in D.C. about the the things we need, but we will never elect a black congressman from this area because we're too divided. Mm-hmm. If I run for Congress, 10 other black folks going to run for Congress, and somebody else going to come up the middle.
Yep.
That's what we don't get. That's what we don't get.
And just to piggyback, I think, like you said, state the facts and the history.
Let's talk about it.
When you got to the council, the city was just coming out of a hard control board.
Broke.
So like you said, we've been broke. We just, as Councilmember Wise says all the time, we're just seeing an influx of money so we can pad our coffers.
Temporary money from COVID. Temporary money from the loss of 10 lives. That money is going to dry up. The next mayor of the city of Buffalo is going to have to deal with a deficit.
Yes.
And is going to have to raise taxes very high. I'm telling you, well, there's a cap on how high, but there's going to have to be a tax raise. City of Buffalo don't have any money. Let's just talk about it.
Absolutely.
Northland Corridor was not done by the city of Buffalo.
No, it wasn't.
It was done by the state of New York. That was Andrew Cuomo's baby.
Sure was.
That was not Darius's baby, Rashid's baby, Byron Brown's baby. That was the state. So the state says, here, we got this money for economic development. We need an area that we can do it. Northland, by the way, big ups.
Yeah.
Because they have hundreds of students over there right now. Mm-hmm. And when I went on a tour recently, I saw a lot of black people in those classes, learning how to do electric, learning how to do and we have a shortage of skills, you can't call them, tradesmen, no more. Skilled people of color. shortage of electricians,
Yep.
shortage of good
Carpenters.
electricians, shortage of good carpenters, shortage of good plumbers, shortage of engineers. Northland is trying to crank that out.
Yeah.
My point is, cities in general are not where the money is. And if people don't understand their state government
Yep.
and their federal government, we spend time fighting at the wrong level. When we talk about affordable housing, we got this task force we're getting ready to sit. It'll be before the council Tuesday. Did we get it in on time to be late file?
It'll be a late
I
file.
don't care. I mean, unless somebody turned down late file for affordable housing. At the end of the day, get ready to sit this commission. Some people say, why now? Why now? Because I'm seeing it worse than I've ever seen it, where people are raising rents, and they're raising rents to evict people. And there's no control. But what people do not understand, that's why I'm sitting this task force. Some things we can't do on the city level because of state law. But I ain't seen no buses on the way to Albany.
No.
I ain't seen no buses. I ain't seen certain organizations in our city that want to pack the chambers. I ain't seen you pack Albany. I ain't see you pack Congress. I haven't seen it. That's where the money flows from. That's where some of the laws choke us on the city level.
Yep.
And
that was going to be my second point of, like you said, every time it passes through another level of government,
Yes.
there's more regulation that gets put on it.
Absolutely.
So by the time the city gets it, it's like, oh, it can only go in this neighborhood for this part, for this, and it can only do this, and the person can only make this, and this, that, and the other. And then you come to the city like, hey, how come you're not doing it over here? We can't because there's 4 regulations on it that we can't spend it over there.
But this is the teaching some people don't want to hear. This is the teaching that some people are better off just saying, "Oh no, they're not," and have no idea the restraints and constraints that are on us on the local level. And for me, and like I said, I'm not leaving the council because I'm mad. I'm leaving the council because it's time, and I didn't hear from God to run again. That's chief. But whatever I get myself involved in, wherever the Lord leads me, I pray that it's in an area where I do have the power to do some of the things that I know are necessary for our people. And the good thing about it is I don't need the money. I'm not doing it because I've got so many job offers. When I said I wasn't running, I didn't get out because I need to find more money. I got out because it was time. That's it. But I'm not going to be involved in something that it cannot be effective. We're okay being on all these little boards and committees. And then if you look, many of us are not on the board of a bank.
No, we're not.
Do you know when you're on the board of a bank, you get paid to be on the board of a bank? And you get to help design policy. The one thing about our presiding bishop, Joseph Walker, he's on the board of a bank. Of a
And colleges.
bank. And was the president of the college. Nashville, Tennessee. Go look at the receipts. End of the day, I want to be in a position, wherever God puts me, to help continue to change the plight of black folk so that we don't ever have another slave day. Slave day.
That's crazy.
And then people say we don't have a race problem and we don't need to talk about it. Like I was a kid. I was in 9th grade. I didn't understand like how bad of an optic that was. And they obviously didn't understand it because they put it in the yearbook. So you talk about Black history?
Yeah.
You asked me about Black history? This is why we must have Black History Month. And not just Black History Month. To me, Black History Month is 12 months out of the year.
Absolutely. And it's something I think about and talk about a lot. You know, it's great to recognize those who have blazed the trail for us. Absolutely. We need to teach our children about those inspiring people of our history, but we should also teach them about our family history. And that's a lot of times what we don't do. We don't teach that part. And so when you think about Black history, you got to talk about your history. You just talked about your mom and dad.
Yep.
How hard they worked.
Yes.
And what they were able to provide for you. Those are examples of the struggle in hopes that we understand the endurance that we must have in order to get to where we are. They didn't someone just didn't give him something and say, hey, here's some money for your son to get an education. Here's some money for your son because we think he's going to be a future council president. They endure and put you in different arenas to give you that exposure.
Absolutely.
So now the Pridgen name rings out. When they hear Pridgen, they think of integrity, think of trust, all those type of things. So Black History Month and those things that we've experienced is now the time for us to reflect and say, what are we doing to make a change? Are you making sure your child goes to school every day?
Yes.
Make sure they get a great education. Make sure that you're advocating for that child to make sure they get a good education, because some of our parents don't even go to the school. And I don't know what the situation is. I know my son went to his school, and I told him that's really important to talk to those teachers. Find out what those things are that your child
Absolutely.
needs and support that, because that's number one.
Absolutely.
That is the basic foundation.
Rashid, you're totally correct. I think about the fact that my parents, I think we were middle class. My dad, if you ask him today, he gonna say we was poor. That's what my father always said. Hurt my feelings when he first said it. I thought we was all right. But if you looked at my parents' income compared to the other students and their parents' income, my parents had to take a huge chunk of their money to put me through school. Their parents don't.
Right.
And they have the option of being in suburban schools that are run significantly different than an urban school. And so it was a big sacrifice. And so I do owe it to my God first, but to my parents to make a difference and to be successful. And my dad said that was the only thing that he wanted in his life was to have a child who was successful, because he came from the deep South in which Black folks were treated differently and still are. But whatever you want to say about the South, those folks in the South saw it firsthand. Yeah. And we don't have a Black university in Buffalo.
Yeah.
No.
They decided we're going to be Black on purpose. We will start our own schools. We will have our own businesses. And that's why you have now, where you had Atlanta that was deep seat of racism. Where are people going now? Atlanta. Texas, deep seats of racism. Yeah. Where are people going now? Texas, Houston. 2 of my daughters are there right now, probably never to return. So when I was asked by a radio host yesterday, which was a great program I was on yesterday, and I really appreciated it, and he was like, well, we got to get how do you get Black people, not his exact words, to start home ownership? I said, some Black people, it's cultural. Nobody in their family has owned a home, and it's more than a notion to own a home. And then your homes usually for first-time home buyers for young people. Yeah. You don't have a whole lot of African-American Black people talking about young people, I'm staying in Buffalo. Yeah. My 2 kids, the teenagers are already talking about where they're gonna live when they ain't saying like people in Atlanta who be like, yeah, I'm gonna buy a house over here.
I'm just going to the other suburb.
I'm going to the other suburb and I'm gonna work. That's not the conversation here. And part of the problem, it is the deep-seated racism of the North that was going on when the South was happening. The South was just pronounced. Right. So our people moved up here thinking, better life, not knowing. I love this saying that it's the difference between the above-ground pool and the in-ground pool. The developers in the city, the Black developers, can buy above-ground pools. The builders buy the in-ground pools.
Yeah.
And we get invited to come to their pool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And we shall overcome. I'm tired of singing We Shall Overcome. Matter of fact, I do it when I'm asked. But I don't say the words out loud. I'll move my mouth. Because I'm tired of talking about we shall. We are. And you got to continue it. But you have to put on mute the ones who want to keep dividing us. Yeah. There's an election coming up. I'm free. Praise the Lord. Free. I'm free. Now, people talking about, and I'm just going to say it, other nationalities that are here. And why y'all talking to other nationalities? Why y'all mad at them? You better embrace them. Because in the end, they're organized. Yeah. And if they run one person,
the whole city,
all of them are going to vote for one person. Yep. Please write down that Darius Pridgen said this today. I ain't mad at nobody who is organized, who puts their money together, But when they start in politics, y'all talking about, is there going to be another black mayor? Y'all, that ain't what y'all need to worry about.
Right.
You might as well. All of them are going to vote together. What do? Election coming up. It's going to be so many splits on so many seats.
Yep.
Because back in the day, when you had Bennett Smith was the godfather of preachers. You wanted to be elected. You just like we run to the party and run to the mayor,
BW.
You go to BW because he had all the preachers, him, Reed, the pastor of Calvary, the pastor of Mount Ararat, the pastor of Antioch. They was all boys. Now they had their own little inner squabbles, but when it came to politics, you went to the black church. If BW said, "Yeah, I got you," that's it. BW had you. If BW said no, and the rest of the churches said no, because that's where the votes came from, and by and large still do to this day.
Still do.
Our voters are not these on the internet who hollering and screaming and going against. Our voters sitting at home and don't even have Facebook. That's who votes for Darius Pridgen mostly, right? So now we got election coming up. I promise you, mark my words, y'all know I'm in the know. There's going to be so much splitting up of black folks. Why can't we be black on purpose? And why can't we decide? We decide, because then what happens is establishment decides.
Yep.
And they ordain whoever they want to ordain as the next black leader. And then you know what they do? They put money behind that black leader. Most black folks don't contribute to a campaign.
Yeah.
And then now this is
Come on, we being extra real.
Just like a good comedian, you start where you end. And that's how you have black positional power or perceived power, but you don't have the influence because the establishment is backing the person.
You got position with no power.
That's it.
Because now let's talk about what it really is. Now you want to run again. You gotta have posters and flyers and to fight your own people. Here's the sickness of it all.
You're absolutely.
You have to go out and get money to fight your own people. I have never had an election without an opponent. And it is always, I have one white opponent that I remember. And I don't even know their name. They were Republican. It has always been somebody who looked like me. It has always been somebody who looked like me, who I would have worked with, who never came to me to work with. I remember, and I'm just being honest and truthful and real, when one person who looked like me took pictures down Jefferson of everything I wasn't doing, of property, by the way, that didn't belong to the city, privately owned property. Then, when they started building on Jefferson, Pridgen giving away the neighborhood, he's selling us out. What the hell y'all want? I've never, every opponent looked like me. Other folk, when they decide to come to politics, and they already got the money, y'all, we worried about, and we should worry about this, who owning the housing. So go buy some land. The one, when Monique said to me, and I shared it publicly, for Christmas, she was like, I don't want red bottoms, I don't want designer clothes, I want land.
God ain't making no more of it.
He ain't making no more land, right? She wanted land, and I bought her land for Christmas. That's the conversations we need to have.
Absolutely. I mean, because it boils down to economics. You know, when Mr. Wilmers was alive, rest in peace, he dropped money in people's pains, and that's power.
Yep.
That's real power. When you can say, I can give you $5,000 and not miss it. I can give you $10,000. You can come back to me when you need some more. That's real power, and that's the power we lack. And that's why some of our folks aren't really on purpose supporting us. They support those who've put money in their campaign.
Absolutely. You know, and I'm just going to be straight up. Do I want more wealth? You daggone skip. You want to know why? I was in the grocery store the other day. Older woman in front of me. I watched her check out her groceries, and I watched her dig in a change purse to find money.
Yeah.
And I stuck my card in the thing. And she had no idea what I was doing. And I put my numbers in, and then she pulled out the money, and the cashier said, he already paid for it. She's like, what? She said, he paid for it. She said, you paid for my girl. I want God to know he can trust me with wealth.
Yeah.
To do the right thing and to help other people to get that wealth. So I'm not about to be apologetic for going to college, for getting a degree, for being in positions, and for wanting to do more. But I can't do with what I don't have.
That's true.
I can't. I can't. You know what I like from the radio show we did the other day? How they did the commercials in between. We got to start doing commercials in between. We got to start running, like maybe we should record them here.
Yeah.
Because then we could talk about Hobson's the Doctor Dry Cleaning.
The doctor.
874 East Delavan. Go over, take your wounded and weary clothes.
Sick clothing.
Sick clothing. Take the suit that's got a fever over to the doctor of dry cleaning, and his wife is going to take good care of you so that you don't have to go to Brian K. Lewis' funeral.
Oh.
Don't wait until you got to go to Brian K. Lewis' funeral.
But that one outfit. To be
With that
buried
one
in.
outfit. At least get your outfit ready because you're going.
We all going one day.
Oh, gosh.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home, 347 Peckham,
Three locations to
2528
serve you.
Bailey, 1275 Sycamore. This week they took care of the Tyree family, the Alexander family, the Hopping Garner family. He is the Begum family, the Hinkle family, the Caden family. He is international. I can't even pronounce some of these names. So that means he can make all races look good. I saw a body he did the other day. I thought they were still alive. I don't care.
Wait, what?
He did a body the other day that I saw
Oh, my God.
that when I looked, I said, I think this person looking at me. He does such a good job. I ain't telling you no story. See, I ain't just saying it. I'm telling you. I told you he did my grandmother. The only thing, that wig was a little crooked.
Oh, Jesus.
But I did straighten her wig out. I did straighten my grandma.
Don't get him. Don't get him.
What? No, Grandma Mary ain't gonna get me. Now, if I was talking about Frances, she coming in my dream.
She can revisit.
Yeah, Frances a feisty little soul. She coming in my dream. Before she died,
She
I
would say
walked
a
in that
word to
room
you.
and she said, "Don't come in here with your mess." She never talked to me like that. My feelings were so hurt. And I left out and she died. I said, I guess she said, let me just let you go, boy. Just go and live your life. Anyway, good show. Slave Day. Pathfinder, 1979. Be unapologetic to be black. Be unapologetic to fight for black issues and black people. But I don't want it just when there's a murder or just when there is a national outbreak. I want it forever. And I want to see you, especially those of you who are watching me and listening, who look like me. I want to see you succeed. Let's be careful during this election time that we don't do what we always do. Everybody can run and anybody can run. But at the end of the day, let's be on purpose, for a purpose. All right, until next week. Power to the people.